I know this is a little meta, but we're going to talk about talking. Well, hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. My name is Austin. This is Gospel Simplicity, and today we are returning to our series Life in the Word, which is a weekly Bible study that we do here on this channel where we go through the Bible one chapter at a time. The goal for this is for it to be simple Bible study where we open up the Bible and seek to learn what it has to say and how that relates to our everyday lives. I want to take the best of scholarship and make it really applicable so that you can see how you can read the Bible and have it inform how you see the world and how you interact with the world. We've been going through the book of James, and that is where we are going to be again today. We're in James chapter 3. So if you want to go ahead and grab a Bible or grab a screen with a Bible, however you want to do it, turn there, click there, swipe there, whatever you got to do. But go ahead and read James chapter 3. I say this every time, but if you go ahead and take the time to pause the video and read the chapter we're talking about, you will get so much more out of the video. So go ahead and do that, and then we will be right back. All right, you did it? You did it? I hope you did. Well, we are going to jump into it, and we're going to look at three different parts of this, and I think it is, James is such a wonderful book. It is packed full of just wisdom for our lives. People have called it the Proverbs of the New Testament. And in weeks 1 and 2, we've gone through a lot of the context of the book of James. Here in this series, Life in the Word, we are all about reading the Bible in context because we don't want to make the Bible say something it's not actually saying. So I always like to dive into the historical, cultural, the literary context before we do too much work in the passage. But because we've already gone over that in the past 2 weeks, specifically in week 1, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in. If you haven't seen it, you can watch those videos or you can watch them afterwards. But today we're going to jump in to chapter 3, and we're really just going to start with verse 1 because I want to talk about this a little. I want to unpack it a little bit. So here we go. James chapter 3 verse 1 says, "Not many of you should become teachers." And here he's not just talking about like school teachers, although probably not just anyone should become school teachers either, but he's talking about spiritual teachers. And so he says, "Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness." And now this passage has been scary for many teachers, and kind of rightly so. You know, James here, he's giving a warning, like, teaching is a lot of responsibility, and we need to take that seriously. And I know it might be somewhat ironic, me teaching about the dangers of teaching, and then me talking about talking. And I feel that. And I want to say that this is a verse that it comes to me often when I think about this channel, because what I'm doing here is I'm teaching, and it might be different than it looked in James's time. I don't think he was talking to a camera while sitting on a laundry basket in front of a blank wall. But the idea is the same, that we want to be careful when we teach. And you know, you might think that teachers are just people who stand up on stages, or people who make videos, or people who are in Sunday school. But really, so many of us throughout our lives, we're teaching people what it is to follow Jesus. And when we step into that role of teacher, we're taking on a responsibility that is serious, because we're teaching people what it means to know God, know the living God in the person of Jesus. Like, that is a heavy thing. And so I think we should all, when we step into those roles, do it with lots of humility, as we're going to look at later, and recognize that, like, hey, this is something that God takes seriously. And I don't want that to be debilitating to you, because I don't think God just wants no one to become teachers, but he's saying, like, not everyone should. And maybe where you're at right now with your spiritual maturity, maybe it's not a time for you to be a teacher, and that's okay. In fact, being able to say, I'm not ready, shows so much wisdom, and it might show that you're further along than you may think. You know, oftentimes people get a little intoxicated by the vision of teaching and standing on stages and being dynamic and charismatic, and it's alluring to people. But I think we all need to take that soul check and be like, am I doing this for the right reasons? And I have to ask myself that so much with this channel, or when I go preach, like, hey, am I doing this to make me look good or to make God look good? Because if it's about me and not God, then we have a serious problem, and I'd be better off not doing this. And so, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this pastor, he was telling the story of his pastor's advice to him growing up, and he said, I tell all young preachers to not do it for as long as you can. And he's like, that doesn't make any sense. We need pastors. Like, why would you tell people not to do it? And you're saying, because if you're truly, truly a pastor, then it will be a fire in your bones like the prophet Jeremiah. Then you won't be able to not do it. But as long as you can not do it, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe this isn't God's call on your life, and maybe you're just not ready for that. But until the word, the fire is in your bones to communicate the truth about God, then maybe just take that reality check. And then when it is there, take that check. Is this about me? Or is this about God? And if this is about building up my own ego, then I have a lot more soul work to do. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect before you communicate, but we do need to be self-aware and see, where is this motivation coming from? So to those of you that watch videos like this and you're like, I want to do that, great. But just take that time to sit with God and see, well, why do I want to do this? And trust me, I need to do this over and over again. Every time before I turn on the camera, I try to really think, like, God, like, may this be about you and not me. And because when it's about me, it's so far from what it should be, and it becomes an idol. So that's my encouragement to you from the very first verse, to take this seriously. If you want to teach, great, but think about it. All right, the rest of the first section of this chapter deals with taming the tongue, and you could even say that first verse does as well. But this is an incredibly important passage in James, and in fact, it's one of the most popular parts of James because it's just so applicable, and he uses these images that are so powerful. And I've taught on this before, and I'm happy to teach on it again. And James tells us that we need to tame the tongue, to be careful, because our tongue is powerful. He says it's like a bridle in a horse's mouth. It's a small thing, but you can move a horse with it. Or an even better image for me is it's like the rudder of a ship. And living here on the water, I see these beautiful big ships come through all the time, and it's amazing that they're steered with, well, now often little propellers, but the sailboats, they've got the rudders, and this huge ship is steered by such a small thing. And James says it's like that with your words. You see, your whole body, it can be thrown into situations that you never wanted to be in, or it can cause more pain. It can set ablaze a fire, he says, with just the tongue. It's a small body part, but it is so powerful, and I bet you've experienced this. I bet there's been times that you've said things that caused more pain than you could have ever imagined. And you just see the words coming out, and you're like, no, I wish I could have them back, because you see the look and you realize, ooh, I went too far. Maybe you've been on the receiving end and felt just how powerful words can be. The childhood saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, if you haven't realized it already, is complete crap. Words hurt often worse than anything else. Often words scar in ways that physical pain doesn't always. That maybe you've been on the receiving end of words and realized that the tongue, though small, can change a life. It can change the way you see the world. And if that is your story, I'm so sorry. And I hope that your life from here on out can be shaped not by what others have said, but by what your heavenly Father says about you, who sees you and calls you his beloved child. But I understand that that's not easy. And I think as we reflect on how powerful our words are, all of us should be saying, you know what? With James, we should be saying, blessing and cursing, this should not come out of the same mouth, as he says in verse 10. This ought not to be so. As those of us who profess Jesus, we should not be using our words to inflict pain. In fact, our words are our greatest resource. We can build up in ways with our words that we cannot do in any other way. You have the most powerful weapon available to you, and it's your words. And in a time where we're more connected with people than ever before, we have this opportunity to interface with more people than ever before with the internet. You have the opportunity to spread more love and kindness and hope, faith, hope, love, as Paul says. Like, you can spread that message, not in an insincere way, but in a sincere way. And in your interpersonal relationships, you can use your words, something we all have, to make profound impact. And so what if we really take that audit? How am I using my words? Am I using them just carelessly, or am I using them thoughtfully? And I made a video called Talk Less, Listen More, Gain Wisdom. And in that I talked about, just developing rhythms where you pause before you speak. So we don't find ourselves in those situations that become instantly regrettable. When we take careful inventory of what we're saying. Is what I'm saying helping, hurting, or just neither? And how can we begin to shape our vocabulary and to shape our use of words in such a way that what we say gives life? You know, Paul tells us that let your words be full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you always have an answer. And I love that. May we be preservative with our words. May we preserve life. May we be full of grace and love, because those are the words that God speaks over us. And so can we speak those over others? The last section in this chapter goes from verse 13 to 18, and it's incredible, and it speaks on wisdom. And I think we live in a world that is full of opinion and starving for wisdom. We're full of pseudo-experts and lacking in true wisdom. We're full of people to tell you how to get better. And I recognize that making videos and trying to help people live the life that God created them to live, it might put me in that category for you of all the self-help people in the world. And trust me, we all know, like, we've got plenty of those. But James gives us such an incredible look at what true wisdom is here in this passage. And it really challenged us to rethink it, because often I see wisdom as a commodity now. That we are people that sell ideas. We are thought leaders. And people, they build their platform out of giving advice. And look, I get the irony, and I so hope that this channel isn't about that. I so hope that this channel is genuinely about you and not about me and my name and my brand. Like, I want to see you unleashed to live the life that God created you to live and realize your full God-given potential. And that doesn't need to be tied back to me. And I think that's what James gives us a picture of here. He shows us that wisdom, by its very nature, true wisdom, is meek. And meek isn't a word we use a lot anymore, but think patient, humble, gentle, long-suffering, someone with endurance, someone that isn't assertive. And he says that is what wisdom is like. And in an age where we have the wise people shouting from stages at conferences, telling us how to maximize our efficiency and live the life we were meant to live and be our best self, and I'm not against it, but I'm just saying, I don't think we often realize that wisdom is supposed to be meek. Wisdom isn't supposed to be about making us great. Wisdom isn't about people seeing us as wise. Oh, wow, you're so smart. That shouldn't be the reaction of wisdom. The true wisdom should be humble in such a way that it reflects less on the giver of the wisdom and just inserts itself into the soul of the person receiving it, that they begin to wrestle with that. And it's not about the giver, but it's about the receiving of that wisdom. And that's a challenge for people like me who love to communicate, but if we truly are doing it for the right reasons, it shouldn't be about us. It shouldn't be about that when we finish speaking, someone says, dude, that was great, you were so smart. It should be, wow, God's really at work in me, and I've got a lot to think about. And as we fade away, that's when we see wisdom at work. I love how James contrasts wisdom with selfish ambition, because often we put those together. Like I was saying, we use wisdom as a tool to build ourselves up, but he actually pits them against each other. He's like, selfish ambition shows a lack of wisdom, because it shows that you still think life revolves around you, but really you were created to be a blessing to others and to glorify God. And he's like, as long as you're seeing something about your own ambition, and not that ambition's bad, but selfish ambition, as long as it's about building you up, he's like, you missed the point. And he says, but if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and be false to the truth. Don't manipulate the truth to make yourself look good. But this is not the wisdom, he says, that comes down from above. And he doesn't mince his words. Earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. And I think we see a lot of that. But here he really closes powerfully. But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere, and a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. And I want you to think about this as you're giving advice and as you seek to live a life marked by wisdom. Is your advice, is your life, is it marked by purity? Is it peaceable? Is it gentle? Is it open to reason? Are you wise in such a way that you're secure, that other people's opinions, they don't come as an assault to your value, but you're open to reason because your value is not placed in you feeling smart and you being able to defend this position, but you're secure, you're open to that reason, you're full of mercy and good fruits. This is the litmus test we should be running for what we communicate in our churches and in our everyday lives. Not, is this flashy, is it exciting, does this point rhymes? Like, as much as I love to rhyme your bottom line, like, this is not what it's about. We should not be asking, like, man, like, how much applause do we get when I preach? Like, man, were people really feeling it? But is it pure? Is it peaceable? Is it gentle? Is it open to reason? Is it full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere? Is a harvest of righteousness sown in peace? This is what we should be looking for, and this is what our world needs. So I want to encourage you, as you go through this week, how can you begin to put these things into practice? And maybe if you're considering teaching, it's just about taking that heart check and saying, why do I want people to listen to me? Why do I want to be seen as this wise person, which ties into point 3. And I think most practical probably this week is to look at taming your tongue, to take that second, to take a breath before you respond and be able to say, okay, is what I'm going to say, is it going to build someone up? Is it wise? Is this the right thing to say? Is this giving life to someone, or is this reactive? Is this intended to hurt? Because your words, as we discussed, are powerful. So take note, be careful, and use your words this week to build the people up around you. It can make such a difference. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Truly, that means so much to me. Seriously, it is such an honor to make these videos and to have you guys watch them and to get to interact with you. And so I just want to say, if you're new, this is Gospel Simplicity. My name is Austin, and here on this channel, we're passionate about the beautiful simplicity and transformative power of the gospel, the good news about Jesus. We're out to talk about life, Jesus, and the journey of faith in a real, honest, and open way. So if that interests you, I'd really encourage you to hit subscribe. I mean, you've watched this whole video. What are you waiting for? Just hit subscribe and become a part of this community. I would love to have you along for part of the journey. And while I'm on that, to all of you that have already subscribed and have been liking, commenting, sharing, like, seriously, you guys are the best, and I so appreciate you, and I wish I could shake your hand and tell you how much you mean to me, but for now, take this as my sincere gratitude for all that you do to make this channel what it is. And so until next time, guys, be sure to be on the lookout for more videos, and as always, go out and love others, because truly, above all else, that will change the world. Peace. I love you guys so much. I'll see you next time.